In this video, I do two self-critiques of the Skadoodle art that I did on day 15 and day 16 of the January Doodle Days challenge. After that, I share a segment about my thoughts about how to approach a simple self-critique of your own art. I have some thoughts on the finish of this Skadoodle. Now, while I'm not really trying for realism or photorealistic skadoodles, I do have some thoughts on ways that I could improve this and make this little fella here look more like the little fellow in the photo. I think that I accomplished a nice skadoodle sketch that was inspired by this photo. But there's some things in here that I like and some things that I don't like. I like, if you can see my little cursor here over on the right-hand side, I'm going to use it as a pointer. I think I accomplished very well the style of his hair. I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with his forehead, with the exception of I think I need more shadow over here to the left side of his face and increasing down onto his entire side of his face. That's very hard to do, to keep it soft as a young child and not go hard and blunt and make it almost angular. So I could have increased my soft values on this side of his face a little bit more. His eyes. On the photo is a fairly small photo, and I'm enlarging the face. The face of this little boy is much larger than the face of this little boy. So his eyes are naturally going to be larger, but if you look at his right eye there, you do not see very much of his white of his eye. Now, here again, this is a small photo, so I would have to actually enlarge the photo to see how much white actually shows. But I think I could have darkened the area on his right eye a little bit more, and maybe even a little bit more on his left eye to make it look a little bit more like the little boy. The same with his eyebrow. I think I have too much space in here, and I think I have too much distance from his nose to the top of his eyes. In here, I think there's a little bit shorter distance. So if I were to do this again, I would round the face just a little bit more. The face is just a little bit too angular. He looks more, my Skadoodle looks more like a boy of maybe about 10 or 11, 12, where I think the little boy in the photo is more like 3 or 4. The mouth. The mouth was a challenge for me. I'm working on noses and mouths. The little boy's mouth here is just slightly open, and that's what I tried to accomplish here. I think I got that almost. He's got little, on the side of his lips there, he's got just a little teeny little grin. And his cheek, his right cheek on the photo is just a little bit more fuller. And here I have it a little bit more slender, and I think that tends to make my little boy look older too. I'm very happy with the sketch as a Skadoodle. I think that it turned out nice, but it's certainly not a photorealistic drawing. I also know that if I would do this picture 4 or 5 times and give myself a self-critique such as I'm doing now, that I would have a more realistic drawing. But I just kind of wanted to review that just for myself too. Just kind of going over what I'm seeing in my finish. I'm not unhappy with it. I actually like it. This is my day 16 finish. I am much happier with this one. I wasn't unhappy with the other one. I just wanted to work on some things. I am happy with, again, the shape of the head up here. I think I have accomplished once again the hairstyle and the forehead. I think I did a much better job on the eyes, but I'll come back to that. I think I accomplished moving his little nose closer to the eyes, and I like his little open mouth too. His face is much rounder. I think that I accomplished a younger child. Now, for some things that I still think I need to work on, or that I want to work on if I were to do another one of these, which I probably won't. But looking at this, things that I would work on would be on the eyes, because I am enlarging his head, and you can see here the photo is much smaller. It's hard for me to tell if I am getting the eyes exactly right. He's got a lot more shadow in around his eye in there, and on his cheek in here. Using the media that I'm using, if I use too much shadow, then it tends to go angular for me, and I lose that soft baby feel. So I do think I could have accomplished a little bit more shadow on the face, and even in the ear in here. The eyes on my skadoodle are very large, where I just don't think his are quite that large, and he has a little bit more puffy cheeks. Now, I noticed on the right cheek in here, I had to fight myself for making it slender, and I still think that it's more narrow than what his is. He's got really little puffy cheeks in here. Now, I think I do okay on this side. On the left side, I think I accomplished the shape of the cheek, but on the right side, especially right in here, I think it's a little bit more narrow than what it is over here, right in here. I think I've narrowed it a little, and I think if I would make that a little bit wider, it would accomplish more his round face. I did get there as far as I think making it look like a young boy, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with this sketch. And that's all this is a sketch. Now, I want to compare them here and show you side by side, which you saw in my video. If you watched my video, look at the difference. Didn't I say he looks much older on my day? This one over here is my day 15, and this one on the right side is my day 16. He looks like he may be 11 or 12 on January 15th, but on January 16th, he's become a little toddler again. So, I do think I'm doing okay on the mouth. His mouth is open slightly, and he's got those little grin marks. So, and I think I accomplished that. His nose on day 15 I thought was almost too much of a distance from his eyes, and I tried to close that up a little. And I also tried to make his face rounder. I think I accomplished that. The ear doesn't have too much detail, even in the photograph. It's lost in the shadow. So I do think I got some of the detail in there, very faint, to make it look like an ear. And then the ear over on the right side is just barely showing. So, yes, I think that the more I work with it, the happier I am. But I can tell you, if I would do this on a third day, that I would change things on the one on day 16 too. I think maybe his eyes. Let's go to the next slide. Now, I blew this picture up a little, and you have to remember that while I'm sketching these, I'm not looking at an enlarged picture. I am looking at that tiny little picture, and it's really kind of hard to see all the features on the original. When I blow it up and look at it on the screen here, I see more out of the original. That may have helped me when I was doing my sketch. But then again, these are only doodles. This is just for fun. So I'm not going to let that bother me too much. But look at day 15. I mean, he's definitely growing up on day 15, and he's become more of an infant on day 16. But on both of them, I think that I lose it, right? I'm looking with my little cursor, pointing my cursor right on his right cheek down here. On this one, it would be here. I completely lost the roundness of this face. And here I got the roundness of the face, but I still lose that puffiness of that cheek in there. That's something I would definitely work on if I was going to do another day. And then over here on the original photo again, his eyes, well, this one, I could have his eyes, he's kind of looking off. You see, his eye goes kind of over in the corner there, and even here, he's looking at the camera, but he's not looking what I call a stare. Here on my day 16, he's more staring. I think I kind of failed it there. Here I tried on day 15 to get it in the corner of the eye, but I think that I would change, if I were to do this one again, I would change it so his little eyeballs would be more looking off to the side rather than a front-on view. And then, of course, on his left eye here, he's got a lot of shadow in there, and on his left cheek. Now, I did accomplish that on this one. I will say I like that. I'm learning how to use those stabilos to add tone to it, but I think that tone on there actually caused him to look older too. And here on day 16, I tried to lessen or not put as much shading in here because I didn't want him to grow older. I'm calling these skadoodles and sketchy doodles. Sketchy in the sense that I am really sketching from vintage photos, but doodling in the sense that I'm not really trying to accomplish masterful art here. I'm not trying to do portraiture or, I mean, even though they are portraits, if these do not look like my inspiration photo, I'm not going to get all upset. I'm looking at it and I'm learning things from it and I'm drawing inspiration from it. And if I end up with a 10-year-old boy instead of a 4-year-old boy, well, okay. You know, I'll learn from it, and then if I am so inclined, I may backtrack and do it again and learn some things off of it. So in that sense, I'm doodling. I'm not doing doodles where I'm just absent-mindedly putting shapes on the paper. I am looking at something and drawing off of it, but I'm drawing inspiration from it, and I'm not being ultra serious about what I'm doing. I'm just having fun. I just want to share some of my thoughts about self-critiquing your art and some ways that you can approach it. First of all, I want to say that these are just my thoughts. I'm certainly not the double quote expert. These are things that I think about when I look at my own art, and I just want to share them with you. On my first slide here, I have, why do a self-critique? What do you want to accomplish from it? Do you even want to do one? What is the purpose of it? Most of us, especially if you're just doing art journaling, you don't really care about critiques. You're just playing around. You're learning, you're growing, you're not worried about criticizing yourself or any criticism from anybody else. But that doesn't mean that you can't look at some of the things that you're doing and want to improve it or grow from it, draw out some elements from the page and work them into something else. So I think what you need to do if you're going to even think about doing your own self-critiques is, why do you want to do it? maybe you don't want to do it. But I've found that when I look at my art, such as I did on day 15 and day 16 of my skadoodles, and I said, oh, I could really do this again and improve in some things. And then when I sit down and say, well, his chin needs to be a little rounder, he's grown too old, I've made my child look like a teenager, these type of things, you're talking to yourself, and sometimes you can take advice from yourself, or you can see things and listen to yourself more than you could if some expert instructor was talking to you. And I think it's good to do self-critiques because you document that and you learn how to grow by listening to yourself. So some other reasons are maybe you just want to improve your skills. You want to make better art. You like what you've done. You see some things on there. You like what's happening, but you want to improve it. And then I think another reason is that by doing self-critiques, you learn to look. You learn to look at what you've done, and you learn to look even at, if you're, for instance, drawing or sketching as I was, you learn to observe more. And I think the last reason that I have here is to strive for excellence. Not excellence in that you're going to produce a masterpiece every time, but excellence in the sense that you are striving toward growing and doing better art and learning from it and experiencing that, I think is striving toward becoming more of an excellent artist. How to do a simple self-critique of your art. I think most of us self-critique our art subconsciously, but we really don't document it so that we have a record of it, so that we can trace our own growth. And that's really one of the good reasons to self-critique your art on a periodic basis. You don't have to do it after every piece of art. So how do you approach it? Document it. Use a pad of paper, maybe even a Word document, better yet, a photo or a video like what I've done here. Talk or write in your own words. Don't try to talk to yourself like you think some expert art instructor might tell you. Just talk to yourself in your own words. If you're looking at your piece of art, you think the perspective is off on the building, say, my perspective isn't right on that building. I need to work on that. List as many things about your art that you see that are good about it, and be generously kind to yourself here because you deserve it. List all those good things about your art and pat yourself on the back. Then list as many things that you can see about your art that you don't like. I give you permission to be honestly brutal to yourself. When you see things about your art that you don't like, just say, the nose is flat. Or this smile, this open smile with teeth looks like a jack-o'-lantern. And in my case here, my little 4-year-old boy turned into a 14-year-old before I even realized that I was done with it, and he was all of a sudden 14 years old. So that's being brutally honest with myself. So when you're done, evaluate both lists and ask yourself, well, what caused these things to be either good or bad? What did I do right about that perspective this time? Or why did my little toddler all of a sudden turn out to be 14 years old? So when you try to sit down and figure out what went wrong or what went good, you are pinpointing the skills that you've either accomplished or that you need to work on more. So out of all those things that you don't like, and here again, don't pick 99 things that you don't like about your art. Pick 1 or 2 of them and start working on them. In my case, I've noticed when I do my faces that I need to work on doing the noses. My noses are always flat and open mouths with teeth that smile. They always look like jack-o'-lanterns to me. So those are 2 things that I am working on in my art. And every time I do a face, those are the 2 things that I focus on, and I'm getting better at it. These are just things that you can sit down and record and do your own self-critique to help yourself grow, to become a more excellent artist. And last of all, I would tell you, always in my video the same way, let's flip to the next page, because there's always another blank piece of paper. There's always another chance to start another masterpiece. You're going to have bad art, but you're going to also, if you keep at it, going to have a lot of good art. I will see you on the next page.